Hey, it's Jeff Zito. Thanks for checking out another episode of the Celebrity Jobber Podcast. And number 2 this week on Apple Podcasts Music Interviews chart. Please subscribe. Would love a 5-star rating and leave a review. Past guests and episodes are online at celebrityjobber.com. Before they hit it big, who were these celebrities and what did they do? What was it that got them to where they are and what we know them for? What was their big break, their defining moment, if you will, the thing that changed everything? Some will tell you it was gradual, and some will tell you it was an actual thing, a moment, a phone call. And what was their very first job? You know, before the limousines and award shows, these celebrities were everyday ham and eggers, just like you and me. We're going to find out the answers to all of those questions and so much more with this week's guest, who I'm real excited to talk to, rock and roll royalty. His band Cheap Trick is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and we just so happen to live in the same town, but we don't know each other. The lead singer of Cheap Trick is Robin Zander, and my guest this week on Celebrity Jobber.
The Celebrity Jobber Podcast with Jeff Zito. If you like what you hear, please subscribe, give a 5-star rating, and leave a review. Check out all our past episodes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you pod. What if these celebrities weren't famous? What would they have become? What was their first job? We're about to find out.
So let me just say, I've been doing this for about 30 years now, and I have come to know the term rock and roll time. Meaning, if they say, you know, an artist is going to call you at 3 o'clock, you know, be ready between 2:30 and 3:30 because, you know, it's rock and roll time. It's usually the later part of the window, if you will, but not with Robin Zander. You say 3 o'clock and it's 3 o'clock on the dot. So I guess rock and roll time doesn't apply in your world, Robin.
In my world, it's always been that way. So, and I've got 21 years on you.
Well, thanks a lot, man. You know, we've never spoke before in all the years that I've been in this business. So this is our first time. I did speak to your son about a year ago, and really nice guy, really nice kid. And
yeah, he's a good, smart kid, and he's doing well. So I'm really proud of him.
He's got obviously a musical influence with you being his dad. But what about you, Robin? Were your parents musical when you were a kid?
My father was a keyboard player, played piano and also the organ. He played at the roller rink in Rockford, Illinois.
Really? So was he? So that was his job? Was that his profession, musician?
No, he was a welder. He worked at Gunite's and he worked at the steel foundry in Rockford. And on weekends, he would go up to the roller rink and play for the kids.
Wow. Were you into? Did you think that was cool? I mean, what was it that got you into it?
My dad was a superstar. Are you kidding me?
Right on.
But he had instruments around the house. You know, he had his own band that he played with, and then sometimes he would play in lounges around town. So he always had instruments around the house, but he never forced any of them on me. You know, I was so interested in what he did that I picked it up. You know, I picked it up just by playing the instruments.
And then what was the band that did it for you? Was there a particular person or band that you were like, you were enamored with?
Oh, yeah, it was definitely the British Invasion. I mean, it was the Rolling Stones and the Beatles, you know, and the Animals. And I think the first band I ever had, we called ourselves the Destinations. And some of the first songs we learned were like the Animals and the Dave Clark Five and the Beatles and the Stones, you know.
Celebrity Jobber. The Celebrity Jobber Podcast with Jeff Zito.
What about before Cheap Trick and before music became your career? Can you tell me about your first job ever?
My first job was at Beefaroo. I was 14.
What is Beefaroo?
It's a place that sells beef sandwiches.
Okay, so like Chicago beef.
Yeah, I was a meat cutter, basically.
And did that job teach you anything? Did that teach you didn't want to be working at Beefaroo for the rest of your life?
How did you know that? No, I did that for money because I wanted to buy, a guitar, and I wanted to get myself out of hock. I wanted to go to Scotland, and I did eventually. But before that, any of that, I had a couple bands. I had a band called The Destinations. I had a band called Butterscotch Sunday.
That's a cool name.
Yeah, well, Strawberry Alarm Clock was taken, so.
So you were saying about Scotland. Tell me about, what was it about Scotland? What did you want to do there?
Before that, I'd heard stories from my dad. He was in the service, and he was a paratrooper during D-Day, and he got injured, cut himself down from a tree, and they sent him to Scotland for the hospital. And he used to always talk about the music scene there was really cool. And so I always dreamt of going there since I was a little kid.
Wow.
And so eventually I got the chance to go. Out of high school, I'd saved enough money working at Beefaroo and some other gigs that I had done musically. With my friend Brian Beebe. We traveled around the country and hitchhiked all over the place, to and from Colorado and back, and all over Wisconsin and Illinois, and we played high schools and stuff like that. And then we met Bunny Carlos, because he was in a band, and we went to the YWCA to see his band, and he was so cool because he had these sticks that glowed in the dark,
Right.
We never saw that before. We thought, wow, that's cool. And so he asked us if we wanted to do some shows around town, and we said, sure. So him and Brian and I put a band together and played all the high schools and stuff like that for their rec nights, and I was in various bands with Bunny before Cheap Trick. I did three different bands.
Was Bunny in Cheap Trick at that time, or no? Was it a different band?
No, he wasn't. He wasn't. But then he joined Cheap Trick along with Rick, and him put it together with this other bass player. And then I had a band together at the time, and the singer Randy Hogan was in my band, him and his sister. And Bunny had asked Zeno to be in his new band, which was Cheap Trick. So Zeno joined Cheap Trick. He stole my singer to be the first singer in Cheap Trick.
No way.
Yeah, and that singer in Cheap Trick lasted about 9 months.
Right on.
Because they didn't have any money to pay him, so he left, went up to Minnesota and joined another band. But then Bunny asked me to come and join Cheap Trick. So I auditioned for about 3 days in Rick's dad's garage, and that was it. That was it. We started playing right after that.
Tell me about how long it took, between you joining the band and, things changing in your life forever. Because obviously when you're, starting out as a musician, things aren't limousines and backstage passes. You had days where you struggled. But what was the thing that kind of changed everything for you that happened?
Well, yeah, we're still struggling. What are you talking about?
Come on. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I mean, come on.
50 years of musical bliss, and we're still struggling. But no, I tell you, when we first joined, we didn't expect it to last very long. When we got going and started playing, and we play in front of 3 people sitting on their butts or standing on their heads, and it's a tough go. And it was for our first 2 or 3 records too. We made 2 records in 77 and 2 in 78, and we were still struggling to get people to come and see us play. But we happened to be known by people in England and Japan. Musicians liked us. We got shows with Fleetwood Mac. We got shows with the Who. Bands that had researched us and liked our music and stuff. So, that really helped a lot. Japan helped us a lot because we did a live record there with our last $10,000 or whatever. And, we were flat broke, but when we did that record, it took off in England. It came to England as Kamikaze Yellow Vinyl.
Well,
I know that's kind of racist, but, it's funny at the same time. And then it went to Canada, and it was double platinum there before it was even released in the States. But Budokan became huge worldwide, and it still is our biggest selling record.
It's one of the greatest live records in the history of rock and roll, as far as I'm concerned. And I'm sure you know this, Robin, but how crazy of a coincidence that on this day in 1978 was the very first day of 2 days at Budokan for Cheap Trick. Did you know today was the day?
I did. And I figured you picked this day to do the interview, but I guess I was wrong.
No, yeah, I was. Yeah, no, they wanted to talk about Cheap Trick coming to the Mahaffey Theater, and I was very much wanting to, not only going to the show, but wanted to talk to you before. But I did not know that today was the 47th anniversary of the first day that you recorded at Budokan. Going back to that, you said you saved up $10,000. You go to Tokyo to record over these 2 days. First of all, is it a trip, like way back before the internet, to show up in a foreign country and people going crazy for you and knowing every word of every song?
It was definitely like we were all doing acid before acid was even popular. We came from, like I said, playing in clubs and stuff, to going on a plane and 22 hours on an airplane. And then when we pulled into the airport, we noticed that there was a bunch of people standing on the roof of this airport, and they had these signs, and I thought to myself, well, it must be the president or somebody showing up here.
Right.
Because we had no idea what really was going on with Cheap Trick in Japan. But we found out real quick that it was for us.
Wow.
And that was a shock. That was a shock. And, that whole scene there, that whole time we spent there, we were like isolated. We had security around us at all times. They blocked out the windows in our hotels. People would stand in the streets all night long waiting to get a glimpse of Rick Nielsen or whatever.
Yeah, or whatever. I know who they were trying to get a glimpse of.
So we were in complete shock. We really didn't get a chance to do hardly anything that first trip, because it was just, we'd get in a mail truck with the windows all blacked out, and they would take us down the road to the show, and there'd be 10 to 15 taxi cabs following us the whole way with fans in them.
Wow.
And it was, I kept realizing that this must be what the Rolling Stones or the Beatles went through when they first came on the scene, because I had my jacket torn off. I had my pair of scissors jabbed in my neck.
Oh no,
that's the back of my, trying to cut my hair.
Oh my God.
There was things like that was really crazy.
That is absolutely insane. I mean, it's and it is crazy how, like today is the day, and how this is, become, that moment has become like, I don't want to say the term big break, your big break, but that was the moment that, changed everything. I mean, I remember hearing Surrender on the radio right at that time. I was in New Jersey, so Z100 playing Surrender from that live in the Budokan album, and I remember that was the beginning of Cheap Trick for me in my life, and to hear that was kind of the thing that catapulted you, I think it's very cool. It was very cool.
It was, and because of the trendy kind of radio that was happening on the East Coast here in the States, they picked up on it before anybody else did. It's like Philadelphia and Boston and New York and New Jersey. Those areas were the first ones to really pick up on us in a big way. So, things happen for a reason, I guess, and still around. I can't believe it, really. I wake up every day thinking, how did this happen to me? Just
right.
Little old me.
Celebrity Jobber. The Celebrity Jobber podcast with Jeff Zito.
What did you think? Was there ever a time where you just too young to where you were like, hey, I'm going to be a musician, but was there ever a time before this where, maybe college and a major had entered your mind about, what you were going to do with life?
No, it didn't really. I was too kind of like naive to think anything. I was just enjoying life as a young teenager, and
sure,
just cruising along and enjoying playing music and being in a band, and that's all I really loved at the time. So I didn't really think that I'd ever make it big or anything like that. I just loved what I was doing at the time.
I'm sure people can't ever expect maybe getting a song on the radio or, achieving some kind of level, but, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and everything that Cheap Trick has achieved and continues to achieve, there's no way you can foresee that.
Even then, I never thought we would be in the Hall of Fame. I mean, first 25 years goes by of Cheap Trick, and then you get a letter saying that you're in contention, and then 30 years goes by, and you think, well, maybe next time, and then 35 years goes by, and you think, screw it, they don't know what the hell they're talking about anyway.
Well, they don't.
It's like that, and then all of a sudden, you get it. You get inducted to the Hall of Fame. For God's sake, how did that happen?
Do you think it's more stressful playing a show locally, like you guys are playing this Saturday, by the way, celebrating the Mahaffey Theater in St. Petersburg, their 60th anniversary? Is it more stressful playing a show locally for you because you got all your friends and everybody wants free tickets, or would you rather be? I find it a blast. It's a fun thing, and I just want to play as good as I can. At my age, I have to take care of myself pretty much, and so even the slightest cold is a dangerous thing when you're working. Right. So
I got to take care of myself, and I look forward to it. And the Mahaffey Theater is an iconic venue in St. Pete, and the guy that happens to run the place and own the place, I guess, or invested in it, used to be the head of our record company here in town called Big Three.
Okay.
Yeah, it's him. And so, I plan on saying hi to him, and I haven't seen him in a long time. And we made a record called Rockford for him and a couple other albums. We did an album called Sgt. Pepper.
Yeah.
Paying tribute to the Beatles. He did that for us. We actually toured a little bit with that. And,
wow, a lot of history with the Mahaffey. Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me about performing the Star Spangled Banner at Raymond James Stadium for the Bucks Commanders game. Is that business as usual for you, or are you a little nervous because of that?
That's totally different.
Tell me. Tell me.
That was the most nervous I'd been in a long time.
Oh, I would think so. I mean, obviously, for it's USA, and that song, people judge how you perform it. So, tell me.
And I'm such a big fan also, so I've lived here for 31 years, originally from Chicago area, and became a Bucks fan immediately when they came out and started playing. And I love those guys, so being asked to do this was just a trip and a half. I was so nervous when I got out there. I just closed my mind and just went on automatic pilot.
Yeah, I would imagine though, because I would think that would make me nervous. That's not like just going out there and doing Surrender or any of your classic songs. This is the national anthem, and I'm really glad you said that though. I'm really glad you said that.
I know what you're saying, and I tell you, I thank my father again for that, because when I was just a little punk, he taught me how to sing that song, because we would often go watch some baseball and go see the White Sox and stuff like that. So he taught me how to sing that just the way you would if you were in the service,
Right.
So that's how I did it.
Well, I think you did a great job. I'm obviously watching that game, and we should have won that game too. But I thought it was an incredible performance, and probably the second best that was ever done at Raymond James Stadium. Maybe second behind Whitney Houston, because you got to admit that was a good one. That was a good one. Man. That was a good one, right?
Oh, God. Yeah. Well, listen. I really appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
The Celebrity Jobber Podcast with Jeff Zito.
6 months from now, you could be running a 5K, booking that dream trip, or seeing thicker, fuller hair every time you look in the mirror. Through Hers, you can get dermatologist-trusted, clinically proven prescriptions with ingredients that go beyond what over-the-counter products offer. Whether you prefer oral or topical treatments, Hers has you covered. Getting started is simple. Just fill out an intake form online, and a licensed provider will recommend a customized plan just for you. The best part? Everything is 100% online. If prescribed, your treatment ships right to your door. No pharmacy trips, no waiting rooms, and no insurance headaches. Plus, treatments start at just $35 a month. Start your initial free online visit today at forhers.com/talk. That's FORHERS.com/talk. Compounded products are not FDA approved or verified for safety, effectiveness, or quality. Prescription required. Price varies both on product and subscription plan. See website for full details, restrictions, and important safety information.
Celebrity Jobber.
I appreciate your time. I know your time is valuable. And just one final thing before we part, I just want you to know that we have something in common, and that would be, I believe we have the same favorite pizza place, because every time I go, it seems like you just left. So when I go to Nona's, I think it's one of the best. You know, being from up north like you are, it's kind of tough to find good pizza in Florida, right? But
that's very true.
I think we found it with Nona's. But I just want you to know, every time I go there, the waiter or waitress always says, "Oh, you just missed Robin Zander." I go, "Really?
Yeah,
he comes here a lot."
Yeah, I go in there all the time. I really like the Detroit style pizza.
Yes, it's their specialty, so they say.
Yes, it's very good.
Anyway, Robin,
I
again,
recommend it.
I don't want to take up any more of your time. I really appreciate your time, and I really look forward to seeing you and Cheap Trick this Saturday. That's May 3rd, the Mahaffey Theater in St. Pete, celebrating the Mahaffey's 60-year anniversary with Cheap Trick. Can't wait to see you guys along with 98.7 The Shark.
Well, thank you very much. And listen, Cheap Trick has a record coming out pretty soon, so keep your eyes and ears open.
When should that be coming out?
I would say, I'm not sure yet. We haven't set a date for it yet, but it'll be between late summer and early spring.
Excellent. We'll be looking forward to that. And thank you so much again, sir.
All right.
Have a great day.
So long.
Take care. We are talking about rock and roll royalty here, okay, in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame with Cheap Trick. I had never spoken to Robin before, and I thought it was kind of funny because, you know, we live in the same town, kind of, you know, in Pinellas County, Florida. Robin lives in Safety Harbor, and I'm just outside of St. Petersburg. And I've never run into him, although, like I mentioned, the pizza place, when I go, usually they'll tell me that I just missed Robin Zander. So I definitely knew that we went to the same pizza joint in Safety Harbor. A few things really stood out from this conversation. Number one, this guy is just a really, really cool, down-to-earth, humble, nice man. I mean, could you hear when he said, like, how, you know, Cheap Trick took off with Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, the live album, the Budokan, how that all changed his life. And he says he can't believe that this happened to him. Little old me, he said, I can't believe this happened to me. And I find that incredibly refreshing to, you know, hear that from a guy of his stature. I talk to a lot of people, and look, you know, sometimes you get people telling you how great you are all the time. You start smelling yourself a little bit, right? It's just kind of how it goes. And I'm sure Robin has been told this a thousand times. It's obviously has never really gotten to him. You know, even the part when he's talking about being invaded by the fans in Japan and how, you know, they were, you know, trying to get a glimpse of Rick Nielsen or I don't know, whatever. I'm like, yeah, I don't know. What are you talking about? They talked about this guy's good looks for as long as you can remember. So, I mean, he just seemed like a very humble, down-to-earth guy. His son, by the way, is the same way. Robin Taylor Zander. He's also an artist. I definitely recommend checking out some of his stuff because he's a very, very talented singer-songwriter. But that was the biggest thing that I kind of noticed from Robin. What a genuinely nice man that he is. The other thing I noticed was what a big role and impact his dad played on him. Seemed like he was really close with his father. Talked about going to baseball games with his dad and seeing the Star-Spangled Banner being performed. And his dad, who was a military man, taught him how to sing that song properly when he was just a kid. Talked about his old man playing the organ at the local roller rink in Rockford, Illinois. And that was his inspiration, basically, to pick up instruments and play music. You know, his old man was a welder and then would do this gig as the organ player at the roller rink, you know, on the side as a little side hustle. You know, when I mentioned to Robin, like, well, so like your old man, it was pretty cool. he was like, man, he was a superstar, man. So I could tell the influence and love and respect that Robin Zander had for his father during this conversation, which I thought was really cool. His first job was at Beefaroo's, making Chicago beef sandwiches. Actually, he said he was the meat slicer. That was his first job when he was about 14 years old. And of course, what changed his life, he said the band was down to about their last $10,000 or so. You know, they put a couple of records out, but weren't really that popular, but kind of got popular in a few other countries, in the UK and in Japan. So like I said, the band saved up like $10,000 and went to Japan to record a live album, which of course is Cheap Trick at Budokan. And what a trip that the day I happened to be talking to Robin was the 47th anniversary of that performance. It was released the following year and became a huge hit. Biggest selling album of Cheap Trick's career and one of the greatest selling live rock albums of all time. And I can remember being a little kid in my sister's room listening to the radio station Z100 and hearing the live version of Surrender for the first time. I mean, I remember it like it was yesterday. And at that moment, Robin Zander and Cheap Trick's life was changing, which I just kind of thought it was cool, him describing that moment and how it was like Beatlemania in Japan for these guys. This is before the internet. Having people that don't even speak the language knowing every word of your song had to be a trip. And he admits it was. What a cool guy. So happy I finally got the opportunity to speak to Robin Zander from Cheap Trick. And thank you for checking out another episode of the Celebrity Jobber Podcast. By the way, number 2 this week on Apple Podcasts Music Interviews chart. Please subscribe. Would love a 5-star rating and leave a review. We're streaming on all platforms. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, wherever you listen to your podcast. Past guests and episodes are online at celebrityjobber.com, and you can follow on Instagram, celebrity_jobber_podcast, or youtube.com/the@celebrityjobber. It seems like Robin Zander wanted to be a musician from the time he was just a little kid, and it was because of his dad. And I'll tell you what, it couldn't have happened to a nicer guy. Anyway, thanks once again for checking out another episode of the Celebrity Jobber Podcast, and until next week, see you then. I'm Jeff Zito.